On this episode of ResiWeek, Ring driving home tech, LG's holiday promos, and Polk Audio's XT line. All this and more on this episode of ResiWeek.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is ResiWeek, episode 303, Just Say No.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Lona, the go-to provider for AV signal distribution and control in corporate, higher education, and residential spaces.
Welcome to this episode of ResiWeek. This is your weekly roundup of all the latest news and stories for the residential AV industry. I'm your host, Matt D. Scott for AVNation.tv, and this week we're pleased to be joined by three of my good friends. First, we have Michael Braithwaite. He is the CTO of Screen Innovations. How you doing, Michael?
Very good, very good. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being here. Then we have Dennis Holzer. He is the CEO of Powerhouse Alliance. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And last, and certainly not least, we have Jimmy Paskey. He is he's in charge of residential sales over at Surgex. How you doing, Jimmy?
Wonderful, man. Good to see y'all. Not
Meridian, Surgex. He really likes Meridian.
One of those stories that had Meridian and I had to represent.
I know. I love it. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off. And first, before we jump way down the chain, happy Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. or if you're like me and you're greedy and you celebrate two of them. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time off. Don't assault anyone during Black Friday. Also, it seems that Backpack is being discontinued, so we're going to say goodnight to Backpack as one of the first major remote management platforms. So sad to see it go, but I think we all knew it was coming. All right, gentlemen, let's kick this off with a story that comes to us from CE Pro. Ring is helping to drive more home builders into smart tech. It seems that the video doorbells are now standard features in 32% of newly built homes within the U.S. That is a kind of staggering number to see how quickly that has bumped up. Michael, when you see this, it's a really good article kind of highlighting how Ring is letting not only builders but the HTPs that are working with builders dip their toes and jump in really quickly into some entry-level tech. How can HTPs go about capitalizing on those really, there's no other way to say it, but that low-hanging fruit? It's not a hard sell to sell a Ring doorbell. How can you capitalize on that?
Well, the way I look at it is it's kind of a gateway drug, right? If you think about it. So someone buying a home and maybe they don't have any experience with any of the solutions that our industry provides. Well, that one piece where they can see who's at the door on their phone or on their TV and things like that, that's like the first gateway drug. And then it's like, well, and plus I need to do the backyard, and I need to be able to listen to distributed sound throughout the house, and so all of a sudden they become addicted, and they're doing lines. Oh, did I say that? They're actually doing different speaker lines, and they look at projectors, and all of a sudden they're looking at screens and stuff like that. And so it's a great thing because most of the issues we have with growth is awareness, and Ring and all these guys. I mean, their awareness is building and it's getting out there. So I think it helps. So piggyback on top of those, add those in, kind of use it as a leverage tool to show other offerings that we provide.
Dennis, that what Michael said has been kind of touched on before, right? That the entry DIY-ish smart home stuff is the entry-level drug. It's the way to just dip your toe in the pool before you jump full bore. Does it make long-term sense for HTPs to try and use that as a route to grow their clients and grow with their clients? Or is it something that you kind of jump into and know that that's a great product for that type of client, and then for our other clients, we look at other options. Is this a long-term relationship solution?
I think no. I don't think it's a long-term solution. And it's a real sore topic for me, because as I look at all integrators, and you use the word low-hanging fruit, and I talk to integrators, and I'm actually in the process of doing something with my group that helped change this, but very, very few integrators go back to any of their clients that they had, regardless of what they did, to say, hey, we now do, or we now offer. And you talk about low-hanging fruit for somebody who 4 years ago had you install a TV and they put in a 60 or 65-inch TV, could have used an 80 or maybe even bigger. So it was a 1080p TV. How about 4 years later, especially during COVID, of all things, you don't have to go back to their house to inspect. You can say, hey, I can now give you that 72 or 82 inch you really could have used in a 4K at the same price or maybe even less than I sold you that TV 4 or 5 years ago. And so that little correspondence, and these doorbells, how much correspondence do you need? All you have to do is watch the news. It's on at least 3 times a week where they're showing, and maybe not by Ring but the actual news, where they're showing someone going up to a porch and stealing. So I just think this is much, I don't say it's long-term, because I think the long-term correct thing to do is continue to go back to your clients that you did work for over the last 3 to 4 years and send them a flyer, send them a text, whatever technology that we're all in that you want to use, and say to them, hey, by the way, we're now installing this. And the reason I don't say long-term is because I think, unfortunately, specifically in the U.S., anytime there's a major disaster, the Boston Marathon, things like that our camera sales as a group go up infinitesimally. So, this is a perfect time to just let your customer know what you have and let your customer dictate. I would hope you're just not going there for a Ring doorbell, because a lot of people, while they may start with a Ring doorbell, if you talk to them a little bit and say, hey, by the way, I can put 4 cameras, one on each corner of your house, for $9.99, I'm just picking a number, I think better than 50% of the population would say yes. So I think it is a gateway, but I think there's so much more that can be done. And that's why I don't think it's long-term. Just going in with a doorbell is the answer.
I like it. Jimmy, the pushback we always have about, and I'm just using a Ring because they're in the story, right? But the pushback you always get with something like Ring is if you're a mid to high level integrator, and obviously that changes where you are geographically, but work with me. If you are a mid to high level integrator, jumping off to go do even a couple of cameras from Ring, it's not always like, it might be okay filler work, but it's not like you don't want to send a regular tech out to do that. They can be doing other things and making you, we'll say, a better return on their day. Is that kind of the break point of you either have to have a division to do the entry-level DIY stuff, or you have to be very cautious with how you play with it?
I don't know. I believe in someone should have an identity and try to stick with it, right? And not try to play all sides of the market. Either they're really good at the low-end stuff and they can scale to that, or they're really good at the high-end stuff and they're detailed, methodical, and all that to handle that kind of work. So I guess what I would say, though, is we've got examples of, like, when 480p was big, Fujitsu, I think, was the plasma of the day. And then there was that gateway plasma, and the gateway was way less money. And so the customer would be like, well, what about this? That's 480p. It's a plasma. Why don't I just get that? And dealers were smart to show both, right? And say, this is why you shouldn't do that. They went and bought one and put it up on display and embraced that. And then hey, I don't need really good speakers in the house. I'm only playing MP3. Okay, well, put a pair at least in the primary room. Oh, that sounds really good. I want more of those. And I can tell you guys, personal experience, my little neighborhood from the 80s, we got Ring cameras everywhere. One neighbor has real nice security cameras. Somebody's going around stealing mail 2, 3, 4 in the morning. No one with a Ring could get the car identified. We didn't know what the hell it was. Is that a SUV? What is it exactly? But the one guy who had the Mac Daddy situation, like Dennis was kind of pointing out, they had all the detail. They gave it to the cops. You know, I won't say that they busted the person. I really don't know the end of the story. But we all looked at the images going, holy crap, that's a nice camera. You know, my wife's like, well, we don't have a camera like that. I'm like, I know, we've got the doorbell Ring. So, I mean, it's great. It's great. It caused me to go get a floodlight Ring, and now I do want, like Mike said, I want the backyard covered. You know, but eventually I'll probably escalate up to better quality and put it in with my alarm system, because that makes more sense.
Yeah, I as a funny side note to your story, my truck was broken into a couple of months ago, and I have cameras, and I have a couple Ring cameras as well. My neighbor has some Amazon special PoE cameras, and we took the Ring camera off my front door, which is a Gen 1, and it was acceptable, we'll say. We took our regular security system cameras, and they're really good. And then we took the neighbor's like Amazon specials, and I was like, hey, can you send me that footage? I need to be able to double check that. And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And now I have this wonderful like good, better, best option of why, like when we go to sell, here's why we sell what we sell. So yeah. Ring cameras are great. I'm not discounting that. All right, gentlemen, let's move on to our next story of the day. This comes to us from Residential Systems. LG has announced a limited time TV and audio promotion. It's a holiday bundle that includes complimentary tone wireless earbuds and speakers with TV and audio upgrades. Dennis, I want to start with you on this one. And we started talking about this before the show, because interestingly enough, occasionally HTPs get left out of these situations. We talked about with your company how if you have a deal from one of the major manufacturers, you're able to pass that through. But I know for myself and for a lot of other integrators, if they're not necessarily direct, they can't always take advantage of a promotion. If you're a dealer who sees a promotion and you don't seem to know about it from either your rep or your distributor, how do you go about looking into that and seeing if it's even worth trying to capitalize on that?
I mean, from a distributor standpoint, one of the things that I do for my members is if there's a promotion, before that, as soon as that promotion, somebody calls me from a factory and says, hey, we're going to have this promotion, the first thing I ask is, how do we offer it to our dealers? And as a distributor, there needs to be a seamless transition from direct to the ultimate end user. And so, and in these days of technology, nothing gets by anybody. Everybody can Google anything. And so if we're not all on the same page, frankly, it makes, in my opinion, it makes the vendor look bad, number one. And that's the start of a bad trail. So I think when you deal with good vendors, and I say that nicely, when you deal with good vendors, you know, they understand and they know that if they're going to put together a promotion, it should be passed all along the trail, ultimately down to the end user. That's the only right way to do it. And if it's not, then frankly, there needs to be discussions with the vendor and the dealer. If this situation does arise, the dealer needs to call the vendor and say that, you know, this is wrong, this is unfair, I look stupid, I don't want to sell your product anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I'm not going to tell a story because it'll get me in trouble. Jimmy, because we don't do that a lot up here. It's very different. It's a different world. Jimmy, this is a great example of a good holiday offer, right? For the end user, right? You buy a TV, you get some cool stuff, you get some cool audio. It's great. Is this something that most HTPs and we recognize that most HTPs do not have retail, right? They're not a retail environment. Should HTPs, as a rule, be trying to leverage these type of marketing opportunities? Should we be going in and, especially, this is a fun topic because Black Friday is obviously coming up, and even in Canada, we celebrate Black Friday. Is this something that HTP should market, or is this one of those things where if you have a client that's looking for an LG, you can say, hey, by the way, you can take advantage of this? How should we deal with the holiday deals?
Yeah, well, it's a shame it's not a Sony or a Samsung. I hate to say it that way. Well, I just don't hear as much about LG. This is just a guy coming from the power side of the business. But I will say two things hit me. One, I saw Meridian helped with the audio with earbuds. I thought that was pretty cool. They may have done the same with the speaker. I don't remember seeing that in the article. So that was neat. And I remember seeing that at CES. Meridian had like this section inside the LG, and I was trying to, what the hell is that about? But, it can make sense from a design aspect. As far as a dealer goes, so many of these guys put tons of TVs in their warehouses. If they were getting those free earbuds for every TV they were buying, hell, I'd say, yeah, that's like a promotion for listen to my pitch, come investigate my options, come to my showroom, see something, get a demo, whatever, get a free set of earbuds, or I'm going to send you a nice marketing package that's going to include the earbuds just to get your attention. I would like that. How many people fly that are our customers? And they love those things. So, if it has good sound, because Meridian helped with it, then that could be useful. If it was total junk, then I'd say no, it'd be worthless.
Demo them first is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Make sure they're good.
Probably would, yeah.
Michael, this is always and I don't want to rehash the question, but I kind of do. This is always a tough business decision. So I'll use an example from my company. We sell one of the multi-room audio solutions. We're not going to name them, but we sell them. They typically do a good Black Friday ad. They typically do a great little, holiday bundle thing. But they do it with me, and they do it with every other retailer and integrator that sells that multi-room audio system. It's very hard to take advantage of that because my email that I'm sending my clients is the same stinking email that they're getting from Best Buy. At what point are you participating in those programs to participate in the program and show the manufacturer that you're a team player versus actually making something of those promotions and trying to really take advantage of them?
Well, I think Jimmy hit it right on the head. If you're taking advantage of these in order to capture more, more deals, to gain more customers, all that's good. That part of it's good. On some of these promotions, and I'm not sure on this particular one, where the execution is usually where it falls through, meaning the equipment doesn't come before this promotion. The equipment comes like 6 weeks after something. And so what generally happens is no good deed goes unpunished. And so what happens is the whole industry gets this black eye. Like the dealer, the end user sees this, happens to see this, because some of these brands are, doing ads in mainstream media. And so they see this and they're like, hey, I didn't get this. So either my dealer didn't give it to me, or my dealer isn't part of this, or whatever. And so that's the problem, is that the execution of these programs, for the most part, doesn't live up to this hype of what it, what they're providing. Because if it did, absolutely, what Jimmy said would be spot on. People could use that and bring in a few more customers and all of that. But That's not there's not a lot of evidence of well executed promotions like that in our industry. So
no, not at all. It's poor, we'll say. We'll go with poor. All right, let's wrap today up with another speaker conversation. This comes to us from Residential Tech Today. Polk's most affordable speaker line now includes high-res audio and Dolby Atmos capabilities. Their new Monitor XT series is a lineup, floor standing and bookshelves, surround system package that, again, as we said, has high-res as well as Dolby Atmos. Jimmy, I want to start with you, and this is a fun question for you because you're wearing the Meridian shirt. At what point are we throwing quote-unquote specs on products that, they meet it and they'll do it, but it's not the same?
No, I am not a fan. I am not a fan of less expensive anything.
I love it.
Especially if we're going to say it's high performance. That's like can I get it fast and cheap? No. So, yes, that's marketing. And, God love the guys at Sound United. They're wonderful at it, and we need marketing for sure. But, I think it was Michael that said, maybe, or you said it, we should test the earbuds out before we claim that it's a good value. So, if it sounds good, wonderful. That's great for the money. And maybe somebody takes it as that. Oh, it sounds good for the money. Maybe that helps get someone young into the market. If that's the case, wonderful. But to eschew just, high res and the buzzwords that were from, years ago, I don't know. You caught up. That's great. You're on par. Wonderful. You're cheap. That sucks. Right? Well, we don't want to promote. This is like the TV guys back, every year they come out with something bigger for less money. That sucks. We want it to be more money. Keep the margins, for everybody. Yeah,
and I'll say this, when you look at the price points, like the bookshelves start at $149, the center channel is $149 American, right? So 5,000 Canadian, but the towers start at $199. That's what's the word we're going to use for that? That's value engineered for sure.
Did you say DIY? Is that what you said?
No,
DIY?
I did not say, don't put words in my mouth. I did not say DIY. I said value engineered. Now, we've all been in this business long enough. We know Polk has some good quality products, right? And we're by no means, well, maybe Jimmy is, but I'm not saying that they're, as he's looking at me, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm sure they're not bad. I'm sure they're great speakers, again, with the price point. For the money. Michael, when you see this, this continually reminds me of going to look at a laptop or a notebook computer, right? And it's got a little Dolby Atmos sticker on it or surround sound. And it has two bloody speakers that are the size of my thumb. And I look at it and, God forbid I walk into Best Buy and talk to somebody and they start expounding on how amazing those little speakers are going to be. I'm sure these are great, and I'm sure they do this. But as integrators, at what point do we not sell something like this to a client who has to have Atmos because this is the only thing their budget will afford them, and sell them a 2.1 system that sounds really good? Where is the trade-off between giving them a really good sounding solution or a great feature set versus giving them the spec that they're asking for from a buzzword?
It's a tough challenge just because the customer, the end user customer, really is the one that sees those buzzwords and believes what they are reading, for the most part, and maybe there's somebody else, a friend they have that has has another system, and the other system has those buzzwords, and then they're like, yeah, I'm going to have that same thing too. until they don't. There's a old saying, which is, there are lies, there are crazy lies, there are obnoxious lies, there are Trump lies, and then there's marketing. And so now you have, products that are out there kind of dancing around that. And it's a tough one. So what I would say is the power of the demo. If you can get somebody in and you can say, even if you can't, the budget won't allow for a different system. I'm trying to be nice, a different system. Then, hey, for that amount of budget, because if you add up all those 199s that you were just talking about, right? And you say, okay, here's a great LCR, and then show them the difference in the imaging, the dynamic range ability, the everything about it. They'll be happier. They don't think they will because they don't have all the stuff, but in reality, when they're watching a great show, they will hear the difference. So,
yeah, I like that, Dennis. I'm going to kind of flip this for a second. I might sound like I'm down on this, and I'm not, right? To Jimmy's point, I respect that they're doing what they're doing at a price point that they're selling it at. We've all had clients, or any of us who have integrated, or who have sold directly. We all have stuff that we sell to fit a budget. When someone comes and reaches out and says, "Hey, I saw this brand new product from, in this case, Polk, and it's got this, and it fits kind of where I want to be." Do you do yourself as an integrator a disservice to Michael's point? Bring them in and A and B them and show them some really nice stuff. Or heck, to my point earlier, show them a really nice 2-channel system that is at the same price point but has more fidelity versus the surround sound system that that's what they want. They want to have a family room, and they want these big bookshelves behind them and towers that their wife's going to hate in front of them. At what point do we sacrifice our knowledge, if you will, and sell them what they want, close the sale, keep our people in the field, and move on to the next person who might appreciate it a little bit more?
Matt, on the last show I was on with you, I used the words, just say no. And as an integrator, and I got to go back to that discussion you and I had. So many of the integrators, I shouldn't say so many, but there are integrators out there today who go into a smaller commercial setting and use residential product. And then 6 months down the road, it breaks. Now, their bid was $1,000, $2,000, whatever the number is, cheaper than the guy who was putting the right product in. And now he's mad at that integrator. And I'll carry it over to the last conversation we had about the doorbell. If that's your business, doorbells and just hanging TVs and simple things, that's great. But if you're a true integrator, you need to go in and you need to educate your customer and say, look, here's the facts. Here's what you're asking. And sometimes, and I know integrators don't want to do this, but sometimes it may be being a not as good product to a good product. And I'm always, and I think all of us are in this belief, you start high. You don't start low. If you start low, you can't go high. If you start high and you tell people what's available, this is about education. Forget product for a second. It's about true education. Marketing, as Michael said, there's a lot of things I see on TV that look great. But man, oh man, if you know anything about them, that's what that was. That was a great marketing job. And so as a quality integrator, I think at some point you need to draw the line and say to your customer, look, if this is absolutely what you want, I'm going to write this on my bid that this is not what I recommended. And if you're unhappy, I'm sorry, and I will install it for you. But I think we need to be honest with our customers. And I think there are some integrators out there who aren't. They're looking for business, and I get that. But the fact is, there comes a point where as a good integrator, you just need to say no. I'm not doing it because I don't want you to be disappointed.
I love it. I love it. And Frank, we love your product. It's great.
Yeah.
We're not trashing it. I promise. I promise. He's never going to call me again. All right, gentlemen, let's wrap it there. Thank you all. Don't laugh. He's never going to call me. He's never coming back. Jimmy, if people want to connect with you, learn more about everything that Surgex has to offer, where can they do that?
Just join us at espsurgex.com.
Excellent. Thank you, my friend. Dennis, thank you for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Powerhouse Alliance, where can they do that?
One of two places, www.powerhousealliance.com. If they want to talk to me personally, D. Holzer at powerhousealliance.com. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. Michael, thank you, sir, for joining us. If people want to connect with you, learn more about Screen Innovations, where can they do that?
They can go to www.screeninnovations.com. We wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving, and come over to our site and take a look.
I love it. All right. Thank you all again for joining us and hanging out with us the day before Thanksgiving. It's very kind of you. If you'd like to connect with me or send me hate mail for that Sound United story, you can do that at Matt D. Scott on Twitter. I will probably respond with a couple of memes and pretty much every other social platform. But more importantly, please visit AVNation.tv, where you'll find this show as well as a wide variety of other shows with all the verticals that we cover. When you visit the website, please take a moment to check out our supporters. We are extremely thankful for their support and ask that you check them out as well. Thanks again for watching. That's all the time we have for this episode of ResiWeek.